Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to another video. My name is Zuhri Porza, and in this video we are going to be talking about this. Now this, my friends, is the Canon 50mm f1.8, which I believe that most of you are familiar with. Now the reason why I want to talk about this lens today is, first, I believe that this lens is a very great lens, especially for beginners and amateur photographers or videographers. And second is because I think that this lens is a lens worth buying up until now, 2020. And what better way to explain my thoughts about this lens than through a home quarantine photo shoot. Now this home quarantine photo shoot idea was from a friend of mine, Edloy, who made a version of this home quarantine photo shoot challenge in his channel. Link in the description down below. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Oh, and by the way, if you're wondering why I changed into a different shirt, is because I just wanted to change my outfit after that intro sequence. So just laying it out for you. Now before we get started, we have to understand what this lens is. Now this Canon 50mm f1.8 is a EF lens mount, which is a prime lens, meaning that it has one focal length only, which is 50mm, and it has a wide aperture of 1.8, meaning that you can get a lot of light in your lens, in your shot, without cranking up your ISO or your shutter speed. Now they say that the beauty of prime lenses is that since it's just one focal length, it can give you a much more sharper image, which after years of using I can prove is true, since I really do get sharper images with this lens. Now the nifty-fifty, or the plastic fantastic as other professional photographers like to call it, is a fast lens. Now what is a fast lens? Now you may have heard this from other YouTubers or photographers out there. Now basically, a fast lens is a lens that allows you to crank up your shutter speed to a higher value without sabotaging your image's exposure levels. Now since this lens is a 1.8 aperture lens, it can let in a lot of light, meaning that I can crank up my shutter speed up to 1/1000 or 2000, hence a fast shutter speed. Now one reason why I believe that you should still get this lens up until now is because of its affordability and its price. Now this lens will only cost you around up to $100 to $150 or 5,000 to 6,000 Philippine pesos, which for a full frame kind of lens is already cheap. Now you can get this lens for a much more cheaper price if you buy it second-hand or from third-party manufacturers who create their own version of this lens. Now there are also other variations of this lens. We have a 1.4 and a 1.2 version, but those lenses are significantly way much more expensive than this lens, making this lens a good choice for people with tight budgets. One advantage of this lens is how light and small it is. Because of the lens's plastic build quality, it makes this lens a very lightweight lens. And because of its very small form factor, it can easily fit in your pocket. I mean, you can literally fit this in your pocket. I don't know if you can see that, but right there. Well, aside from the fact that you have a huge lens bulging out of your pocket, but aside from that, it can fit in your pocket. And since it is also very lightweight, this lens can easily be tossed around for, I guess, run-and-gun situations, or for situations where you quickly need a change of lens. But don't forget to toss with precaution. Now reason number 3 is that this lens has a wide aperture, meaning it has good low light performance. Now because of the lens's wide aperture of 1.8, it lets in a lot of light, meaning that this lens can be used in different low light situations, in night photography, or in various low light and dark situations. And because of its wide aperture, it leads us to our 4th reason, which is its shallow depth of field, or bokeh. Bringing the lens aperture down to 1.8 lets in a lot of light and gives your image a lot of background blur, or bokeh. which creates a background separation of your subject from the background, or it gives your background a shallower depth of field. Now my fifth reason is that this lens has just the right focal length. Now the lens's focal length of 50 makes it a great lens since most people consider that 50mm is the natural field of view or field of vision of the human eye, making this lens give a much more natural and realistic perspective to the photographer and the audience. Now all of those previously mentioned reasons leads us to our final reason, which is the accessibility and ease of use of this lens. Now because of the accessibility and ease of use of this lens, it makes it a great choice of equipment to add to your arsenal of gear, whether you are a photographer or a videographer. It doesn't cost that much, it's lightweight, it's small, and most important of all is that it gives you a great kind of image quality. Now there are some drawbacks once using this lens. Most obviously is that this lens is really 50mm only on a full frame lens. If you are on an APS-C size sensor camera, this 50mm lens will be multiplied by a crop factor of 1.6, making this lens only 80mm in focal length. 50mm is already a very tight focal length, and once you multiply that by 1.6, you get an 80mm, which makes it a very tight kind of focal length. And because of its plastic build, it feels very fragile. It feels that once you drop it off once, it will instantly break. Oh, and I just want to point out that this 50mm 1.8 lens that I have here is not the STM version or the newest version. This is the old version with only 5 aperture blades and without the rubber focus ring, compared to the STM version, which has a better focusing ability, motor, ring, and 7 aperture blades, meaning that you get a much more circular form of bokeh in your images. So as you can see, we're back inside now since I just finished capturing all of my photos and it's starting to get dark outside right now. So that's all for this video, guys. Those were my reasons why I believe that you should still get the Canon 50mm f1.8 up until now in this year 2020. I hope you guys learned a lot from this video. I hope you guys liked it. And if you did, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and click that notification bell to be updated for my future uploads. So that's all for this video, guys, and here's my take on the home quarantine photo challenge. Roll in the photos!